Welcome, everybody. Very pleased to see everyone and so many people join us today. This is part of our snackable series. So we get together for 15 minutes. We bring our product experts in. Normally, you'd have been invited by one of the customer success team, or you might have heard about us through an email. But however you got to us today, really pleased to see you. We got Luke with us. Luke will be joining us and we'll dive hands-on. We will record this session, so we send it out afterwards. If we go, let's just move one slide on. And just a quick reminder, actually, this was, again, a really, really super, we had lots of feedback about this. So we started talking about tooltips. We had a session a couple of months ago, Luke and I, a lot of people have come back and asked for that. But what we will do is we'll make sure we send that out again with the follow-up and recording from today. Because here's the thing, whether we're looking at tooltips, so lots of developers, dashboard developers are familiar with tooltips. It's the idea is keeping your dashboard unmuddled, and with a quick hover being able to look across. But of course, Vizlib being Vizlib, we've gone one extra stage, and that's what we're talking about today. So Viztips, if you want to go one on. So we're taking even tooltips to another level. Vizlib is very exciting. We think of them as dynamic visualizations in a tooltip. So we will be covering today how tooltips delivers amazing looking dashboards. So key focuses on upping your data storytelling, how, why, when to insert them. So why do you use them? When's the best practice? We'll go through that, and then we'll go straight on to Luke again and that practical masterclass. So dashboard wow. At that point, I think I'm going to probably hand over to Luke, who will probably want to go into our masterclass demo zone.
Okay. Awesome. So guys, yes, thank you for joining. Yeah, I'm really happy to see so many people are interested in this. I was really excited about the tooltips one, and the obvious next step was the Viztips. So yeah, I suppose let's just get straight into it. Again, this app, like the last one, will be available for you guys to use. But here's the general content of what we are going to be covering. So we've got our the content page. I actually need to fill out properly, so completely ignore that. But here we are. We have visitor filter and a bar chart. On the left-hand side, like before with the tooltips example, we have Viztips. But what is a Viztip? Well, a Viztip, as Al briefly summarized, is essentially a chart within a tooltip. Why would you use this? Well, for example, if you want to deliver more information without having to sacrifice dashboard space. So on the left-hand side here, we have a filter and we have a bar chart. On their own, they're pretty good visualizations. Like the filter, obviously, you can filter down. The bar chart, you can like Manhattan here is like 7,500, and so on, so on, so on. You can even hover over to understand the bar in a bit more detail. But a Viztip, so what is it exactly? Well, again, as I said, it's a visualization that doesn't require any dashboard space. A bit like this sheet menu up here, it's there to add value to your chart. So if we hover over Bronx, for example, on the left-hand side, all we get is that tooltip. If we do it on the right-hand side here, we get a Viztip. And already, without me having to drill down into my data, I can start to understand the output, number of workers, and the rough my bullet chart here to understand the on target nature of the Bronx area. I don't have to do any. I don't have to click down. I don't have to drill down into my data for me to understand what is happening here. And again, if I go on to Brooklyn, I can understand I have different output and I have different number of people. Same with my progress or the bullet chart, and so on, so on, so on. And same goes for the bar chart. Like on its own, great visualization. How can we improve it? Well, this is where the Viztip comes in. So the Viztip here is now displaying to me that Department of Design and Construction is the most populous, and in Manhattan there are 837 completed projects, which in total is, as we can see from the indicator arrow, is a higher performer than, for example, last month. If we go on to citywide over here, now we can start to understand a bit more. We've got Department for Environmental Protection is the most populous project here, and they have 503 projects, but obviously now we see this downward arrow on the right hand side, which is indicating that there needs to be some improvement in this area. Excuse me. So what you can see from this example is that without me having to do any other investigation, without me having to filter, without me having to look and drill down into all these different dimensions, I can get a quick overview. So I can start my analytics journey from a simple hover. And again, we just have another example with the table. So on the left here, we have without Viztip, and we can hover over it. For those who know, you can add like some tooltips here and there. We have our progress, the percentage complete, for example. But again, that requires me to do a bit of left and right on here to understand what's happening. Now we have Viztips on a row level, and we can see again the output, number of workers, and the bullet chart. The bullet chart showing us whatever the content may be. Again, this is a rough example, but hopefully you can already start to see some of the benefits. So let's go to the how-to. How-to page 1. We'll have some content for you guys, some quick starts, and here's a video from Martin. And yeah, we can you can see the past tooltips webinar here, but let's actually go on to creating it then. So what is it? Well, you need to have the Vizlib KPI object. And the reason for that is because that is how this the charts that use Viztips pull in that data, pull in the visualization. So let's go ahead and start creating one then. So we have a filter here, and we can see on the right hand side of the property panel, there is an option there called Viztips and Tooltips. So at the moment, Tooltips disabled. Right, let's turn that on. And now we've got Viztip content down here. At the moment, I have a few already made because obviously this is an example app. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make one for you guys. You see content down here. So depending on if it's like a basic sum and then your amount, or if it's I forget what set analysis. Thank you. If it's a set analysis, there's a slightly different code that you need to implement here. But let's go through and start by adding a layer. You know what? Actually, I'm lazy. I'm going to use a template instead. So let's load up a template. I'm going to go for, I don't know, I kind of like the look of this one. So let's start populating some of these. I want to have this one. I'm just going to do counts because it's easier. I know borough is my dimension. And as an example, we'll apply this. But remember, we had to add that code. So if we go back to the Viztips section in the property panel for the filter, let's simply copy that. Let's go into here. I want to take numeric formatting off, thank you. And I'm simply going to copy, or I'm simply going to paste this in between here. So cool. Now that is now that's dynamically going to be driven. So let's go into my Viztips and make sure that I've got everything I need. Yeah, okay. I'm going to copy that one more time just to start by adding a few more layer icons and a few things. Let's maybe go for, what other field do I have? I'll do another count. I have count. I'm going to then paste that in, and then I know I think I have something called project date. Yeah, that'll do. I'm going to count my project date, I think. Maybe I can use something different, actually. Let's go through and see what I have. My project description, that's what I'm going to use instead. I'm going to insert it here. So now I'm going to, now I'm going to save this as a master item. So add to master item. I'm going to name this as my example. I'm going to add. I'm going to go in here. Going to go to the tooltip section again, and then under Viztip content, we're going to click this, and I'm going to find my example KPI. So now once that's inserted, great, that's fine. I can hover over here, and now you see my Viztip. So again, very simply done. I can now, you can also see on the bottom here, it's actually updating again without me having to drill down. So that's kind of a neat. You can also see my other KPI on the left is also updating at the same time. But within, I'd say about a minute, I can already begin to get some idea what's happening. I get a rough, sort of rough and ready Viztip ready for my filter here. So again, if you did want to edit, if you want to edit it, obviously you can go into your master items here. You can go into your visualizations section, but that can be difficult if you have a lot of master items. So we simply have the edit master item button here. Click that. Great. Yeah, let's go through and start editing my master item once more. And then you can go on and continue making your perfect Viztip. Now, you don't have to feel like you're limited as well in Viztips. We have a wide variety of tools within the KPI. And let's go on to some demos, because how else do you understand how good a Viztip can truly be? So here's quite a busy dashboard, but the story behind this is that we are doing some project management cases, and we've got our boroughs down here. We've got some effectiveness over time. We've got our bullet charts to understand, well, here we see a number of project days. Are they over budget? Are they on budget? And our project efficiency, got our project statuses, so on, so on. A lot of different KPIs here. But this is quite busy already. There's a way that we can definitely start doing some proper analytics on this. Sure, let's go into Brooklyn. I can see here, let's go and see, right, okay, I can see for Brooklyn, I've got my number of days street repair. I can also see, right, okay, we're currently in the evaluation process. My project performance is actually not performing too well, but the cost is still kind of low compared to our actual budget. But let's clear these selections a second. How can we make this easier? How can we make this more efficient of a dashboard? Remember, that's what these Viztips are for. They're for you to tell a story. They're for the user to interact with each charts, to understand their data in greater detail. So the way I look at this is, because I've already used KPIs, I can actually start to get rid of basically everything up here, right? I can get rid of everything up here, and then I'm left with my 3 core charts. Great, okay, but now where's all my data gone? Well, if you simply hover over here, we now see my project performance, and again, relating now to the bullet chart at the bottom, we can understand that which is this Richmond, we can understand Richmond, all the performance projects that are happening under there. Now let's click through, because it seems interesting to me. We can click through and understand, right, okay, for me, my number of days are quite excessive. I can actually see that I have 105 days used for this project. Well, my budget was originally only 90. And again, hovering over here now, I can see that for this ticket, for my tickets anyway, in the completed stage, which is great, it's finally completed. We can actually see there's some good profitable returns on this. Again, you can evaluate it as much as you want. You can make these KPIs as simple or as complex as you want. But you'll also see here that I have 2 different sizes. I have one that's more of a rectangle, and I have one here which is a bit more of a square shape. And again, all this can be changed in the Viztips tooltips area and you see here a handy, it hovers up for you to visualize. But let's start by expanding, hypothetically saying I want it to be a bit more square. Okay, cool. We can now do that simply in the sliders. So you don't have to feel confined by having a very small chart. I think the default's around there, something like that. You can make it as big as you want. If you want, you can make it huge, right? There's no limitation really to stop you there. Well, there is technically a limitation, I suppose, as the width and the height is 600. But Again, you can make it dynamically driven if you so chose to, but hopefully this will show a few different ways. Let's go back to something that's a bit more legible. There we are, nearly there. We can now go back and start to understand my data in better clarity. But again, what are we doing here? What's the purpose of this? Well, you're trying to tell a story. You're trying to express your data in a way which makes it as easy as possible to access without having your user to require that cognitive effort to understand your data or to understand the processes behind it. And again, let's make this chart a little bit better. Again, really quick example though, just use the here with the game, have our plot, we have a bar chart and another bar chart that we saw from the previous slides. And I'm hoping that you can see from this, right, we started off with how many visualizations? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we started off with 6 visualizations. The top half of the page was all these KPIs. We've now gone down to 4 viz with all our KPIs essentially in these lovely Viztips. So again, you're bringing in that value by allowing you to free up that sheet space, which is so valuable when you're using your analytical dashboards. Cautious of time, I think it's probably a good point to stop.
Yeah, and just to remind everybody, we like giving our product experts a tough time, so please keep those questions coming in. I'm going to start with one. Actually, it was more of an observation, but again, thank you, Lucy. And I'll actually just read this out. Not really a question, but wow, these look awesome. That's what Vizlib's all about. So yeah, it's about making your data talk, and it's about supercharging native click, but don't they look awesome? So appreciate that that comment, and of course the product managers would have to agree. So that's what Luke's saying there. Here's the other one. So anonymous, quite interesting, because if this question hadn't come in, it's one of the things that I very much wanted to highlight. So from anonymous, you probably know who you are, but very, very good question. Do you so let me take that down to or encapsulate that. The more as you take off from your sheet, the key thing is to let your users know that there is a hover, because the idea, of course, is to go from cluttered to uncluttered. So very good upping data storytelling, but of course all of that is lost if you don't let users understand. So very good. Again, it wasn't a question, more an observation. Couldn't agree more with you. Luke, anything else to add to that one? Yeah.
Okay. Yes, definitely. It's a fair point, and I would recommend that no matter what dashboard you make, you always have a form of introduction slide. Like we have here, like our contents, just a basic overview of what's happening. The reason for that is you can go into a dashboard and it can be amazing. However, what's my data I'm analyzing? Why should I even bother using your dashboard? And like you said, how to interact with it and any cool, funky features which I should know. Or you can very simply, I don't know, let's hypothetically say you can add a button here. And then you could have in the London office, thank you. And then we can have my button item to say how to use this chart. And then we can have an action. You can add an action, then there's a pop-up somewhere, prompt. We can go to, yeah, that's fine, pop-up title, how to use, and then this is a description. So now what I've quickly done is I can click on this, how to use my chart, and then this is how to use this chart or how to use the visualization. You've got that prompt there for anyone that may potentially need it. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. And actually, I didn't know that was available. So you just with Vizlib, you always learn. It's every day is a learning day. Okay. And again, this is almost one I would have asked, if it hasn't been asked by our lovely audience, what extensions, what products does it work with, Luke?
Yes. Okay. So I had a feeling that this would come up. You can go to our help center. You can also see the Viztips overview page. But if you go here to Vizlib capabilities, this would be in the follow-up email, I'm sure. I'll also make sure to put this into the contents or how-to pages. But you see here all the products that have Viztips, mostly library. Because the KPI is already in there, so it makes sense to have a lot of the charts with the Viztip opportunities, Viztip capability. But it's not limited to that. You have self-service. You also have collaboration that have Viztips. I believe finance does. I know there's talks about having it in Gantt. So if you don't see it here, don't assume that it'll never happen, because it's very unlikely. Over time, we'll definitely consider more popular charts to have these Viztips, because we know that you guys want to keep experimenting and keep playing around with all these cool features that we do possess as a extension company.
Brilliant. I'm just mindful of time. We've got loads and loads of questions. We're going to go to rapid fire before we let everyone go. Is it possible to take a screenshot with a Viztip up?
Man, okay. I mean, if you had to do something like that, then yes. I use a really cool tool actually. I use a cool tool which you can go full page. That may get it. There's also something called Light Shot. So this cool extension here, product. I think they're all free. I'm pretty certain. So if you really want to get a photo and you can't get it through Click because you need to hover over it, then there may be there's always a workaround to potential problem.
Yes.
But yes, let us know.
More of an observation again, but lovely comment in from someone who's written a book literally on data storytelling. Context is king. Please never forget context. And I think that would have been about our earlier comment. Couldn't agree more with you on that. Set the context. That's effective storytelling. Mohammed asks, can you nest Viztips?
Stop being so cheeky. You can have a, okay, so if you mean by interaction, so here's my Viztip, and then I have technically a bar chart within there that can also have a Viztip. No, but you can obviously have master items within Viztips. So there's actually an example somewhere within our ecosystem of many click servers where there is a waterfall chart. Obviously, waterfall chart isn't native to the KPI designer, but just shows, again, by implementing that small bit of code, you can basically have any chart performing as a KPI designer Viztip.
We're going to go to one last, which I think is nice. Can you hide and show hover based on the condition? So could you set a condition for this sheet could you set a condition and then have, I don't know, maybe if I'll give you an example, maybe if you're down on your numbers for the end of the month, because that's something you could do. That would be a condition.
I suppose. Okay, to answer your question in short, I'm pretty certain you can't have a condition to show when or when. No, you can't. No, you can't. But you can set up in the container. I'm pretty certain you can have a conditional show. Yeah, there we go. So you can have conditional show using the Vizlib container. So you could theoretically have two of the same charts, one with Viztips and one without, and then you can interact with it that way. So no, you can't have conditional show. That's actually quite an interesting proposition. So let's have whoever raised that, Mohammed, I think it was. Sorry. Oh no, sorry, that was the previous question. But yeah, let's put that into the feature request column or feature request page of the Vizlib community.
Yeah, it's actually Maria. But good questions from everyone. I think we always say this. Luke and I, when Michael and I get together, we join when we have these. We really enjoy chatting to you guys. It's nice doing these snackables. We know you enjoy it because so many people turn up and have lunch with us if you're in kind of European time zones, or maybe a breakfast croissant or a cup of coffee if you're in North America. So the most important people that we want to thank are you for turning up. Again, wherever you are in the day, we trust you have a lovely day, and we'll get the recording off to you very, very shortly.